WWE announced as of our recording as something that has been rumored for a while, and unfortunately, every rumor comes true. It feels like I want them to be proven wrong. I want somebody to say Las Vegas is getting WrestleMania again, and it's not, and be like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. But it seems like they're always true. It seems like they always come to fruition. Some person even said that their rumors were that it was going to be WrestlePalooza, which seems strange and weird because one, that's an old ECW pay-per-view name from back in the day, and it's just unique, I guess. Over the limit, fatal four way. These are all names that I could see them bringing back because WWE's used them, Armageddon, what have you. But WrestlePalooza, I guess, right? Sure, why not? And WWE's doing it. It's going to be from where everyone said it was going to be. I was going to say Conseco Fieldhouse, but it's the Gainbridge Fieldhouse now in Indianapolis, Indiana, on September the 20th. What a coincidence. It's on the same exact day and the same exact time as AEW All Out. So what do you know? WWE did not have a PLE scheduled for September. As you know, everything is essentially announced. In fact, but by the time this PLE, I think, hits the air, WrestleMania tickets will be already on sale for this upcoming year. So it seemed like this year was pretty much set and done. We knew about Crown Jewel months ago. We knew about Survivor Series months ago, right? So all of these events we knew about a while ago. So it's just strange to me, WWE announcing a PLE 1 month exactly to the day. So in 1 month, they announced this pay-per-view. They're going to be selling tickets, right? And I'll get to in just a second the added information other than just, hey, they're adding a pay-per-view on short notice. Weird, right? But there's a few different things other than, like I just said, going up against AEW All Out. And I can tell you, just first and foremost, there's one main reason I won't be watching this live, but then there's a backup reason why I wouldn't have been watching this live, and that's because, again, AEW All Out is in Toronto. This has been announced for a long time, so there's probably a good chance that if by now I hadn't bought tickets, I would have purchased tickets and made the plans to go to All Out in Toronto. I go to Toronto all the time, probably going this weekend, last weekend.
There's a big reason.
Yeah, so I'll be out of the country, United States, because I'll be on the West Coast for my wedding, which is that weekend. So I won't be at All Out, and I won't be at WrestlePalooza. But I guess you
won't be at WrestlePro on the 21st either.
And I won't be at Karrion Kross's first show, WrestlePro, on the 21st in Rahway, New Jersey, either. But with WrestlePalooza, right, on top of it just being short notice, being a pay-per-view, the first question I'll ask you, just in general, is this to go up against AEW again, or did WWE really need to have a PLE here between Clash in Paris and Crown Jewel?
I think it's, I hate to play it down the middle, but I think it's a little bit of both. I think with obviously the new partnership, the new 5-year agreement between ESPN and WWE.
And we'll talk about that in a second because, again, there's the terms of things are happening quicker than they were originally announced.
Yes, no, that's a fact. We'll get to that. But because of that deal being in place, what better way to kick off that relationship than within a month's time? Because as of recording, by the time this airs on YouTube, the ESPN standalone app will be available as of August 21st. We're doing this, recording this on Wednesday, August 20th in the evening. So by the time this gets out for distribution, give or take, that ESPN standalone app will be available. So what better way to, bring that partnership full circle than have an event? I'm kind of surprised they didn't put an event together, maybe week or two, but obviously with Paris, they're going to be overseas. They couldn't have made it work, but it gives you a month's time. I think they'll sell it pretty well. Indianapolis is a pretty big, a big wrestling town, I think, these days, especially with Pat McAfee's presence. I'm sure he'll be there because it is in his backyard. The Thunderdome is right there in Indianapolis, so I would expect Pat McAfee to be there as well. So I think it's a combination. But you know what? The thing that kind of bothers me about that part of it is, why are we even acknowledging AEW as competition? Because let's be honest, they're not. But I will add this one little tidbit for you. My thought is too, I think they're doing this in a way to kind of, drive the numbers down for AEW because AEW is looking for a new contract for their TV rights. And any way that WWE can affect their ratings, that actually will affect AEW's power in the negotiations because what can they bring to the table if the numbers aren't as good because of WWE? Maybe that affects the next deal for TV rights for AEW.
With AEW having a pay-per-view that exact night, they're having a pay-per-view this upcoming weekend as well. One thing I can definitely say, and I've learned, I guess, from TKO's situation here, right, with the recent UFC announcement is AEW, the time of paying $50 a month for an AEW pay-per-view, I think they're probably not coming to an end immediately, but they are on their way out the door because with TKO now in the UFC deal, and UFC is bigger than boxing is, right? So UFC is the new boxing model in that sense of like, that is where if you want to not watch WWE, that's where you go. You don't watch Tyson fights anymore. You don't watch Holyfield fights. Don't exist, right? UFC is kind of has that similar audience for people who want to watch big market fights on pay-per-view. Well, they're leaving pay-per-view. They're doing the WWE route. They're going to be on a streaming service sooner rather than later, right? So with that being said, and WWE now being obviously on a streaming service for a long time, I think the writing on the walls for AEW's next deal or whatever it is to just be in the same boat where pay-per-views, PLEs are just on a streaming service, no individual month-by-month fee like that. So, I think pay-per-view in general, like with UFC and joining WWE, is really like, I know WWE had the WWE Network for a while, so they dipped their toe into this. They were like the only ones doing it. But now that UFC's on board, yeah, I think the pay-per-view model in general is kind of coming to an end sooner rather than later.
It's definitely becoming obsolete. It's kind of like, the VCR from back when we were kids. Like, who uses VCR anymore? Not very many people, let's be honest. So I think that's where we're going. And I think it's actually, in a way, I think it's good for the consumers because as you saw with the UFC deal with Paramount, I believe it was Paramount Plus, right? I think that's where they're going. If I remember that correctly. They're going there. AEW is going to go somewhere. I'm just curious to see, how much it's going to be. I do think that it's going to be a lot cheaper than what AEW has been doing and what UFC has been doing. So that'll be really good for the consumers.
Yeah, and getting on to the point of this streaming service, ESPN, right? If you're just joining us or maybe you're a little confused, you're like, well, why is this wait, why have you guys not mentioned Peacock at all? Well, because Peacock's deal, as we thought was ending at the end of this year, it is ending right after Clash in Paris. So the deal is that, as we heard with ESPN talking about, WWE and how they were going to bring 10 PLEs a year, that's essentially how this works. It's a event by event basis. And because of 2-night SummerSlam and events like Evolution, WWE has already satisfied the amount of events for this entire year that they promised Peacock. So essentially, they're deciding to end this agreement early by saying we've reached the quota we need. I know technically it was going to end at the end of the year, but actually we've already given you all the events. So we're going to kind of end now and start ESPN earlier. Now, again, I don't know how these equate to part of the ESPN deal because I know that deal was going to kick in the start of the year. So these must just be bonuses. This also, as of right now, is not scheduled to be on ESPN. It's scheduled to be on only the ESPN direct-to-consumer app, which there was some rumors out there that select events, maybe WrestleMania, are on actual ESPN itself. I know with UFC, there's a lot of events that are scheduled to be on CBS, which is wild to me, you know what I mean? Because this is just an idea that I thought of like years ago, right? When everyone's like, hey, everyone watches the Super Bowl, not everyone watches WrestleMania. And a lot of people would always tell me, well, you got to pay for it, you know what I mean? Even people who maybe want to watch it don't watch it because there's so many barriers to get to it. I always thought, wouldn't you make more money on television? And UFC's going to show that. Yeah, they're probably going to get more eyeballs on a UFC fight. I don't know what kind of numbers, but if it's on CBS, and an American national television show, a channel that hosts all the major events like the Super Bowl and the World Series and the Final Four and all these other things, if it's going to be on that network, yeah, it's going to be treated like those other sports. It's going to be treated like the Olympics or anything else because it's on a national network in prime time. So it's not just going to be a niche pay-per-view, go to a bar and watch it with your buddies kind of thing. It's going to really break its way into mainstream real quick. But this is just going to be on the ESPN direct-to-consumer app. I've already seen all the comments, right? VPNs galore for people who don't want to necessarily get in on the ESPN app. But one thing I've been very curious about, I didn't bring it up when we talked about the debut of this app before, but WWE advertised 10 PLEs to ESPN and advertised what those PLEs would be. Royal Rumble, WrestleMania. And we thought, and we talked before, well, we'll get rid of Peacock. That'll save us 10 or 15 bucks when we get this ESPN app, right? But hold the phone. Are we getting rid of Peacock yet? Because my question is, where is NXT going? Where is TakeOver going? Where is, like, this weekend is Heat Wave, right? Where are these events going? These events weren't advertised to be a part. The deal was 10 WWE PLEs a year. They didn't mention anything about NXT special events or anything like additional that they do that NXT does, or maybe, they might do with another cross promotion. They're just talking about the main ones we all watch, like WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, and SummerSlam. So is NXT going to essentially stay on the Peacock app? Or is it going to go elsewhere? And if it stays on so are we going to need Peacock if we want to watch TakeOver or Great American Bash or Heat Wave or any of these kind of events and have the ESPN app as well? Because that was never, made clear what's going on with like NXT. And obviously what's not been made clear yet from anybody is obviously the library in general, like where the library is going, if that's just dissolving and going to just be a YouTube only thing. And the days of looking up old pay-per-views on Peacock and WWE Network, we might go back to the day where maybe we have to, buy the DVD again for the time being. If we want to go watch these events, because
I feel like the direction they're going, specifically with the library portion of it, I feel like they're going to go to a YouTube portion of it. I think that's what they're going to do. Maybe set up kind of like obviously they have the WWE's channel on YouTube. They'll probably do something like that and make it like a playlist of nitros from back in the day and whatnot. Now,
it's difficult just to have everything because, like I said, the WWE Network, you went by year, by week, week. You know what I mean? So even if it's a YouTube thing, I don't feel they're going to put like every Thunder episode on YouTube, just like Peacock was struggling to do.
Here's the other thing too, with the NXT side of it too. If my understanding is NXT is part of the WWE umbrella. So for me, I think that goes without saying. I think it's going to go to ESPN.
But they're only advertising the 10 PLEs. They're only saying with this deal they get 10 PLEs. Do you just think that they just throw in NXT as well, or do you think maybe they're like, hey, we can maybe still make some money? Because again, if Peacock still probably wants NXT, they're not going to pay WWE price for it, but they'll pay something for it.
Here's what I would say. I would say this. Obviously, in America, NXT is on the CW, and then anywhere else internationally. Our neighbors to the north, for example, it's all on Netflix for NXT. So I think that portion of it on the American side, I think it stays in CW for the time being for like
the television portion, yes. But I'm just talking PLEs.
But I do think that's going to be like I think they're throwing that in as an add-on. I'd be surprised if they didn't throw that in as an add-on for ESPN as well. I think I haven't heard anything, but I guess my inkling I feel is they're going to tie NXT with the entire WWE umbrella and keep it as one thing, and then whatever pay-per-views, PLEs are out there, whether it's NXT or the main roster, I think those will be on there, and then some specialty things I think will be on there as well. That's what I'm guessing.
Two reasons why I think this WrestlePalooza event is very short-sighted, other than just going up against AEW. That's a whole nother thing, right? But two reasons why I think it's short-sighted, and they have to do with one man. His name is John Cena. John Cena had announced he's got 11 dates left, and he pretty much announced what those 11 dates were. So this is an added date to all of those. And the other thing that involves John Cena is that part of his schedule, it was a little strategic, making sure that when he said goodbye, right? When Derek Jeter said goodbye at Fenway Park, he didn't come back and play at Fenway Park the next week. The shirt that John Cena already sold, my last time is now, after this, you can't see me in, quote unquote, Indianapolis, was sold back at the Royal Rumble in February. He announced this was his final time in Indianapolis, like it's his final time in New York City, like it's his final time every city. He's going to Dublin this weekend for SmackDown. It's his final time there. So that's all kind of a lie. And I mean, it's not the craziest lie in the whole world. I'm not sitting over here mad at John Cena about it or any nonsense like that. But, he is going back to Indianapolis because this event specifically in the press release says that he will be headlining this event. So if you didn't see him at the Royal Rumble and you didn't get to see him and you cried your eyes out because he left Indianapolis and he'll never come back again, well, he's coming back. He's main eventing. He's adding a date to his tour because this event wasn't ever originally scheduled to be on the calendar. So John Cena is added to this event. I'm guessing it's going to be a match against Brock Lesnar. I'm guessing that's kind of what we're getting here. Some other people have rumored that CM Punk and Seth Rollins might have a final Hell in a Cell blow-off match to finish off their feud once and for all. Because I think the deal is that with Crown Jewel, they just want to kind of treat that like they did the Saudi Arabia Crown Jewel, and that it be just a lot of champion versus champion matches to get that Crown Jewel title. And then obviously Survivor Series has its own thing going. There is no pay-per-view in December. That'll all be just about John Cena's final match, most likely Saturday night's main event. So they wanted to have this like other pay-per-view where they could put in the matches where they don't, there's no obligated matches. It can just be whatever they want. And then they can, like I said, debut on the ESPN app early. And I'm personally not, like I said, a huge fan because, like I said, I think it's just very short-sighted. It's a money grab in like a bunch of different ways. I would have been okay if Crown Jewel or Survivor Series was like the first on ESPN. But the fact that they kind of just create this event in a city that they already said they weren't coming back to this year, with John Cena already having his final event there, right? Saying that's our last time and we're coming here this year. This John Cena's last appearance here, doing all that kind of stuff, create a pay-per-view on 30 days notice, doing it where it goes right up against AEW All Out. And crazy enough, Toronto to Indianapolis is about a 9-hour drive between the two places. So you got to think about some of those people in the middle, like myself, who look at 4 hours one way, 4 hours another way. Which event am I going to? There's a good chance if I lived in Cleveland, Ohio, I might already have tickets to AEW All Out in Toronto as a close event. So it is right there. It'd be one thing if it was like on the West Coast, a completely different fan base who wasn't even going to buy tickets or have anything to do with AEW, but you're kind of like making people pick and choose. Personally, I think that I wouldn't be watching this event live regardless of my wedding because, like I said, I would probably be going to Toronto. And the reason I'd be going to Toronto, other than it being close and available to go to an event, because at the end of the day, I'm not one of these haters that you see on the internet, right, where they're just all about hating everything. I go to things. If I can go to something, whether it's AEW or local wrestling event, and I can see it in person, I can see the best of the best live, I'm going to do that, right? Versus not doing it, versus staying home and watching it on TV.
Let me cut you off real quick. I don't mean to cut you off, but I gotta throw this point in. I don't think the effect of it being near each other, for AEW versus this WrestlePalooza thing, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal because the AEW fan base is a diehard fan base, and the ones that are going to go are maybe not as big of WWE fans, anyways. And I think WWE, obviously, as a whole, is so much bigger than AEW. So I don't think it's going to affect things that much. Yes, there are some people like you and I who we dabble in a little bit of everything wrestling-wise. Mm-hmm. But there are some people out there that all they consume is WWE for wrestling. They don't watch AEW. They don't watch TNA. So that's why television, I don't think it's going to be that huge of a deal.
I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal in general. I don't think it's going to really cut it. Obviously, AEW is not necessarily happy about just like WWE holding an event. Maybe if there were some fringe people on the fence about paying to go to something or paying to maybe watch it on TV, are going to watch this for free if they already have the app. But I'm just very interested in general, obviously, to see how many people are early subscribers to this. Originally, we had that 6-month notice that we didn't have to subscribe to this if we want to watch it the legit way on the ESPN app until January. Now they're telling us, well, if you want to watch literally the next one after next week's Clash in Paris, this is the route to go. So I just don't feel like I don't feel like this event is organic in there. It's not like, hey. And it's weird, too, because I was listening to the Not Sam podcast, and I think maybe it was Not Sam or one of the other ones, like 2 months ago. And they were talking about what's the PLE in September. And the producer was like, there is no PLE in September. And he's like, really? He's like, well, because Clash of Paris is technically September. It's August 31st, but let's be real. Like, by the time you and I watch it, it might be September 2nd by then, right? So it's technically September. It's on the September Eve. And then Crown Jewel is the first week, essentially, of October, or the second week of October. So even though it seems like there's a month with no pay-per-view, it's like a shorter span of time. You know what I mean? It's like when Elimination Chamber is at the end of February and WrestleMania is at the beginning of April. Yes, March is no event, but literally you flip the calendar, it's March, and then by the time that next event comes around, it's early into the next month. So it's still like that maybe 30 to 40 day window between events. So this one's in between. Not really a huge fan of it. I'll be going to Scotiabank Arena a few days before before All Out though, so I still will get my Toronto fix in. I got to go check out Lady Gaga a couple days before at the Scotiabank Arena. And
I didn't see that on my bingo card. I didn't know you were a Gaga fan. That's cool.
Well, it's not all about me sometimes, but Nine Inch Nails is going to be there this Saturday. So I could be heading to Scotiabank Arena this Saturday to see Nine Inch Nails.
Did you see 9 Inch Nails?
What?
You see 9 Inch Nails?
9 Inch Nails, yeah. I didn't know. This is a new thing. I just found out that they were on tour. I wasn't aware that they were on tour. I would have probably checked this off a couple months ago and bought tickets, but it's kind of short notice, but we'll see. But All Out will be in Toronto at Scotiabank Arena a few days after Lady Gaga and about a month after 9 Inch Nails. And they hope that they have a successful show because now they are going against WrestlePalooza. I do wonder why WWE picked that name. It's just so strange to me, but like we are some announcements already. It will be on the ESPN direct-to-consumer app, not on Peacock. It won't be on the ESPN TV channel as of announced right now. It will be headlined by John Cena. It's not just John Cena's involved, like he's on the poster, some nonsense like that. The press release said he will headline the event. CM Punk, Drew McIntyre will be on the event as well. And like I said, it's the Clash in Paris, which is next week, will be the last WWE PLE on Peacock in the United States. So things moving awfully fast here with that ESPN direct-to-consumer app in WWE.